So I did that, and then I wrote a book, and then I did a couple DVDs, and then I started promoting bodybuilding contests with the same organization that I won the Natural Mr. Universe, which was the ABA INBA. So I was in Chicago at the time where I grew up, and I started promoting 2 contests a year out there. And it's just been a lifelong passion. I'm still doing it. I'm a couple weeks away from doing another photo shoot. I'm 55 years old now, and I've been doing this for over 40 years. And I just nuts. Love bodybuilding. Yeah, it's just my passion.
It's so great. I mean, to be, like you just said, the P word, passion.
Yeah.
How many people in this life get to really live their passion?
Right.
And I think that's such a meaning. We've talked about it in previous episodes, just being passionate about what you do, waking up with like just a zest for things and just excitement and enthusiasm. And how many people kind of just go through the motions in life and are missing that.
Yeah.
But bodybuilding is still so much of who you are, and you're still so into it after all this time, and so committed yourself. And so it wasn't that long ago, too, that you were getting ready for your first show in years.
Yeah.
And that was either last summer or the summer before.
The summer before, 2016.
2016. I remember talking with you because I think we had filmed with you, I think, a couple different times that year.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like? So after having so many years, so that was like, 12 years since you had previously competed. So what was that like?
I won my last Natural Universe as a Masters competitor. That was in 2012. Because I made the cover of Iron Man in 2011.
Oh, wow.
So I got in great shape for that. So that sort of sparked the interest again in competing. So I competed again in 2012, and I won the Natural Universe in the Masters division.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I hadn't competed since then, and then I decided to go back in 2016. And it really wasn't planned. It's just, every once in a while I get the itch to do it.
Yeah.
And then this year I'm doing a photo shoot. So I just think it's good, if you're a bodybuilder, to go through that process of getting ripped again, whether you want to compete or whether you want to do a photo shoot. I think that actually the photo shoots are more beneficial as far as marketing, because when it was interesting when I competed in 2016, because that was the first time I'd competed since they added all these new divisions. So now they have figure, they have bikini, they have men's physique, they have classic physique. And so the shows now are run very quickly. And if most of the promoters are very good at expediting the show, and you're not on stage very long.
Yes.
And it was sort of an anticlimactic feeling because it took me 6 months to really get ready for the show, and then it was over so fast. I felt like I was up there for 2 minutes, and it was over. And I just felt I won my class.
Yeah.
But I just felt an empty feeling.
Right. It didn't feel like a full day.
Yeah. Himself so very well.
So
and
well.
I learned that from him, and I think that's what I applied to my life when I got into bodybuilding. Every time I competed in a show or was going to compete in a show, or every time I won a show, I would market myself. So the first show I won in 1986, which was the NPC Illinois State, I was 23 years old. The Monday after the contest, I called up all the local newspapers, and I told them, I said, I'm John Hansen. I just won this Mr. Illinois contest. I beat 50 competitors. Would you like to do a story on me? And most of them said, yeah, because when I was in high school, I worked for the newspaper, the high school newspaper.
Wow,
I was I was the movie critic because I'm a big movie fan. So I took a class called newspaper production, and the last assignment we had to write something for the newspaper. So I said, well, I'd like to write my own column. Can I have my own column? And the teacher looked at me and goes, really? You want to have your own column? And I said, yeah, I want to be the movie critic.
And you're like 16 years old, you want your own column.
And he said, well, we've never had a movie critic, but yeah, let's do it, So I started writing my own movie critic column in the last 2 years I was in high school. So one of the things I found out was every Saturday we would meet for a meeting, and we'd have to figure out what was going to be in the next newspaper. And we were always looking for stories.
Yes.
So when I started winning bodybuilding titles, I knew that these newspaper editors are always looking for content. Yeah, they're looking for stories. And the same thing with the bodybuilding magazines. So I would always call them up and I would say, hey, I've got a story for you. The worst they could say is no.
Right. You're not, what are you hurting?
Yeah.
Especially if you make 20, 30 phone calls,
right.
half of them are going to eat it up.
Right. So I remember that year I was in the Chicago Sun-Times, which the Chicago Sun-Times and the Tribune were the two big papers in Chicago. And they did a short story on me on one of their pages. And then Johnny Morris, who used to play for the Chicago Bears, he was the sports guy for Channel 2 News in Chicago. He called me up and he goes, I want to put you on the news. So then he came to the gym with his camera crew, and everybody's like, what the hell's going on? You know? And they're filming me. And so I learned about marketing from Arnold, and that's what Arnold did, you know. And so every time I won a contest, I would go out there and I would promote myself. And the same thing when I won the Natural Mr. Universe, I wrote letters. This is, again, before the internet. I had to write a letter to all the editors and send them pictures of myself saying I won Mr. Universe. I beat out 50 guys in this contest or whatever it was. It was an international field. Would you like to put me in your magazine? So the year I won the Natural Mr. Universe, I was in like 5 different magazines. I was on the cover of one. Yeah. But it was all because I promoted myself. And that's what I try to teach a lot of these other bodybuilders. You have to promote yourself. I think the bodybuilders put so much into preparing for a contest, they don't think of anything else. And I understand what that's like. It's all consuming with your diet and your training. Yeah. You're brain dead from the lower calories and the lower carbs. So when the show is over, it's your job to go out and promote yourself. You can have great genetics, I don't think. You know, and it's funny now because like when people look at videos or pictures of me and they go, wow, you got great genetics. You were so blessed with great. I go, well, I didn't think so when I was 14, you know. I would look at the magazines and I would look at guys like Arnold and Lou Ferrigno and Robbie Robinson and Mike Mentzer, and I'd be like, oh my God, these guys look like they're from another planet.
Yes.
I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I don't look anything like that, you know. So after training for a year, when I was 15, I had my brother take some pictures of me hitting a double bicep and side chest and all that. And I was able to look at my physique and say, you know what, I think I do have the potential to be good because I've got the structure. I've got a wide bone structure. I've got wide shoulders, big rib cage. You could see where the muscles were attached. Like I had a long and wide chest. It was flat because there was no muscle, but I could see the potential was there. I had a peak on my biceps. My legs were a little skinny, you know, because the muscles in the quadriceps are attached kind of narrow. Yeah. So I was able to analyze it and see that, you know, I think I do have the potential. It's going to take a lot of work. I'm going to have to work for years to build that muscle mass. But I think I do have the potential. And I think those pictures really gave me hope as far as how good I could be. Yeah. And I was more positive about it then. But I would say the big challenge I had was for many, many years I had to build that muscle mass. And that was where the training came in. And it was just pushing myself to train as hard as I could for as heavy as weight as I could for that 6 to 8 rep range, and just eat a lot of food. From the time I was 20 to 21, that 2-year period, I really focused on bulking up, and I learned about nutrition. I had to really increase my calories. I had to go up to like 5,000 calories a day.
Oh, my goodness.
In order to, because my metabolism was so fast.
Sure, yeah, because you're naturally like a lean or a thinner guy.
Ectomesomorph, I guess, is how I would describe myself.
Yeah.
So I couldn't gain any weight, you know. So I remember I got up to 205 and I was all psyched up and I'm like, all right, I'm on my way. And then I was stuck at 205 for like 8 months. And there was guys in the gym saying, well, just go on some steroids, man. You know,
of course. I mean,
you're
you'll
older.
Gain 20 pounds real fast.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I got to do it natural. And I pushed myself to get up to 230 pounds by the time I was 21. And it was just an unbelievable amount of eating and the training heavy. So I could see the potential was there when I was younger, but it just took, that was a 7-year period from when I was 14 to 21 before I finally realized my potential. So this is a sport that takes time, and everybody has different genetics, and you've got to put the work in. You know, it doesn't happen overnight.
No, evidently, you know, and just I have to admire that kind of dedication and commitment.
You know, Arnold was influential in my feeling about that too, because I was 15, and I was reading all the magazines, Muscle Builder magazine, which was Joe Weider and Iron Man, and so every once in a while in Joe Weider's magazine they would mention steroids, and I was 14 years old, 15 years old, living at home, training at home. I didn't know anything about steroids. I didn't know what they were. So I started reading about it a little bit. I'm like, well, what is this steroids? I mean, they're drugs, but what do they do? I mean, does everybody take them? And so they were doing an interview with Arnold once in 1978, and they said, do you take steroids? And he said, yes, I take them for competitions. And he said, it is a risk, but I'm competing at the highest level. And so I have to be at my best. And then it only adds, like, he was downplaying it, of course. He said it only adds like 10% to your physique. But without that 10%, I might lose. And who knows if he was telling the truth or whatever. But I believed him because he was Arnold.
Right.
So he said, he goes, I do have to offer some advice to younger bodybuilders. He goes, you should develop your physique with exercise and nutrition because the steroids are only temporary. And if you take the steroids, whatever gains you make will go away when you stop taking them. So that really stuck with me, and I said, oh, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want a physique that's only going to last for a couple months.
A temporary.
Yeah. Or I have to stay on these drugs all the time in order to have a good. I want to have a great body for the rest of my life.
Right. Build the foundation.
Right. So I remember when I started competing as a teenager, the very first teenage show I did, I was 16. And I think I took 5th or 6th. And it was very competitive. The teenage shows back in the 80s were very, very tough. Not like they are today. So the guys that beat me were all like 19. And I didn't think they were on steroids. I just thought, well, I'm 16, they're 19. They're men. I'm still a boy.
Right.
But then I found out as I started competing, and I would see guys make unbelievable progress in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're not training any harder than me. You know, they didn't look that good 6 months ago. So then I knew that bodybuilders were taking steroids. And my training partner was a guy who was like, I think he was 21, 22, and I was like 17. And he told me once, you know, he would go with me to the shows. And he goes, man, it kills me to go to these shows and see you get beat. He goes, I know how much you put into this, and I know how hard you're training. He goes, why don't you just let me get you a cycle of steroids? He goes, I'll pay for them. I know what to take, you know, because he was taking them.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'll give them to you. And he goes, I guarantee you'll win that teenage Mr. Illinois next time. Yeah. You know, I guarantee it, because you're right there.
Yeah.
You're in the top 5 every time. Sometimes you're in the top 3. But he goes, you're not going to beat these guys being natural. And I told him, I said, no, I don't want to do that because it's only a temporary thing. You know, I don't want to take them as a teenager and you know, at this young of an age, I haven't even developed my physique yet, you know. So it was tempting because I hated to lose and it was my life and I was so committed to it. But I saw the bigger picture, and I have to credit Arnold for that, because he said, you know, it's only a temporary thing.
And he, you know, anyway. Thank you so much for watching the Critical Bench YouTube channel. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, drop us some comments or questions below. Click that subscribe button right there. Check out this amazing 7 Worst Testosterone Killers free report and another video from us. We'll see you soon.